Universal soul retrieval. It is the subject that excites me more than just about anything in terms of the work that I do. Supposing someone comes to me for universal soul retrieval, what is it that happens? What happens is that the client has chosen the time and the date when they want the work done. They can be anywhere in the world. So I've put that time and date aside and I'm there ready for them. And I'm sitting down wherever I happen to be. I'm tuning in. I'm in the orange healing room where I do all my work, which is not even in this galaxy. It's completely separate from this galaxy. And in that place, in that orange room, I summon the person's energy body. It arrives on the couch and it's there. And the first piece of work we do is entity removal. If there are any negative, intrusive, unwanted energies, usually, this is not 100% of the time, but usually those are the first things to be removed. So if needs be, restraints are applied. Definitely ayahuasca and possibly other plant spirits enter into the person's energy body to make the energy body a place that the entities need to get out of because it tastes too bitter for them. It's as simple as that. The blue vortex above their head is activated and the entities are sucked out until they've all gone. That's the first part of the process. Second part of the process is curse removal. Any misuse of the power of the word that's been done by other people or that they've done to themselves, like, oh, I'm a useless piece of something or other, that kind of thing. We then remove all those through the same process using the vortex. When those are done, my particular guide with the green staff and the nanites, the green staff is inserted to the energy body, the nanites go into the person's energy body, and any actual physical damage to any of the organs or any of the cells of the body, they get repaired, rectified and dealt with. That is the time when the Pendle and the Measure step up and do their very particular piece of work. What they do is they lay these seals upon each of your energy centres. So these are also known as chakras, so these seals are laid upon each of the energy centres and also the hands, the palms of the hands and the palms of the feet. Palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. They're laid on. When they're happy they then activate them. And the idea of these energy seals is what they do is they protect you against any intrusive, unwanted energies that may attempt to be attracted to you and attempt to enter your system. They won't be allowed to do so. The next step is with my guide the worm. Now what worm does is worm duplicates itself into hundreds of millions of nanoworms, and each of these nanoworms go inside each of the nuclei of each of the cells of the person's energy body. What they're looking for is they're looking for any damage to the DNA, which is then rectified, and they're also looking at the aging program. So when all these stages have been done, that's the entity removal, the curse removal, the nanites checking the condition of the body and doing repairs on the cells and organs, and then the DNA rectification process, we are then left with what is the golden part of the procedure. It's the actual universal soul retrieval. It's the return of all lost soul parts to that human being in one session. All traumas in all lifetimes, one go. So what happens is as follows. All my guides and my 4 helpers were all tuned into the fact that we're ready to do this piece of work. What we then see is if you can imagine lying down on the grass at night and you can see a hemisphere of sky and all the stars are out, it's a totally clear night. Okay, well double that. Imagine you've got that view above you but also below you. Imagine you are in the middle and all you can see, you are surrounded by a sphere of stars. Right, imagine that. Now, when this device is switched on, what happens is that a sphere of red lights are suddenly illuminated. It's as if you are suddenly in the middle of the cosmos and a load of red stars switch on. That's what it looks like. And the number of those red lights is exactly equivalent to the number of lost soul parts that that person is dealing with. A minimum of 100, a maximum of many thousands, that's what we're talking about. So suddenly our view is being surrounded by these red lights. And then we get a digital readout which tells us exactly how many, 718 for example, whatever it happens to be. What then happens is my 4 helpers and myself, we form into the shape of a pyramid. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 helpers, if you can imagine like a square, and then above the square there's me. So that forms the shape of a pyramid. Now all our guides join us inside this pyramid. And so what we then do is we duplicate ourselves into 718 identical pyramids, and they're all focused away from a point of origin, and the point of origin is where the client is. The couch is there, the client's on the couch, and we're all facing away from that client in all directions to form a sphere. And what we're doing is each one of us is targeting just one of those red lights, and in no time we're off. And what we do is we connect immediately with the source of that light, and we arrive at the point of that trauma, and we're instantly dialoguing with that lost soul part, and we're reassuring it, we're having a joke, we're letting it know that we're here to help, and we're inviting that soul part to return with us. So there we are, the soul part is completely ready to return, it's delighted to return, and it knows that we are the vehicle. So what it does is it leaps into the centre of this pyramid shape, and that traumatized soul part receives such a blast of healing, it changes its quality completely, and what it does, it becomes liquid. Once it's liquid, we know it's ready to be returned to the client. So then what happens is that pyramid with that liquefied soul part instantly transports out of that dimension back to the orange room. So you've suddenly got 718 pyramids, each with their soul parts, surrounding the client. All 718 pyramids coalesce into the original pyramid as we started. So it ends up with just me up there, and Paderma and Nemedja and the other two down there. And inside this pyramid, which is huge as you can imagine, it's got 718 soul parts which are liquid, and they've got only one desire. All they want to do is they want to get back to client. And what happens is the liquid mass of soul parts rushes through the apex of the pyramid, through me, straight into the person's heart. And when we look at the sphere of lights, we notice an amazing transformation, because all the red lights, all 718, they're all green. The fact that they're all green means we know that the job's been done. By the time we get to this point, we always see one thing. The light body of this person becomes radiant, absolutely radiant, bursting with energy. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes we find beings from the angelic realms that turn up at this point, and what they tend to do is they tend to sing the most beautiful music, and it's an act of celebration that that human being, they've been through all these lifetimes, they've experienced all this suffering, all this trauma. It's given them all their learnings. They've developed compassion, they've developed empathy, they've developed all the qualities of being able to be a really decent human being through all their suffering, and the energy's been returned to them. Can you imagine how good that might feel? Maybe you're starting to. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? So at that moment, we just feel such a sense of relief. We see the glorious glowing energy body from the person, and we know that our job is done. And after a short moment of celebration, we then say goodbye to the client's energy body. The energy body is then returned to the place where the person was when we arranged to do this session, usually lying in bed or lying on the sofa in their house or wherever they happen to arrange to be, and the job's done. That's the end of the story, and that's the universal soul retrieval completed. Now we could have left it at that, but we prefer to really dot the i's and cross the t's with this kind of work. So 21 days later, free of charge of course, we then make an arrangement for a date and a time for that person. We go back and we do a complete check, complete scan to see if there's any extra work that might need to be done. Often there's nothing needs to be done, it's all done. Sometimes you'll discover that rather like homeopathy, you have this principle in homeopathy called the layers of the onion, which means that onions are made of lots and lots of layers, and sometimes you strip off the outer layers and you find with a bit more time there's some layers underneath that are ready to be worked on. Sometimes that's the case with universal soul retrieval. So by having the checkup session 21 days later, should it be necessary, it means we can deal with anything that wasn't ready to be dealt with the first time. That's the service we offer with Universal Soul Retrieval. We look forward to hearing from you.